Acknowledge me.
You just made the list.
I am the B-E-S-T.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Damn.
Welcome back to Down Under the Mat podcast here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. To my left, Mr. Daniel Danielson. To my right, Rowdy Roddy Reese. I am Booker Ted, and I nearly stuffed that line up in my head because I am so tired from our trip up to World Series Wrestling, which watch our video, which will come out later in the week, of our recap of World Series Wrestling in Sydney at the Penrith Panthers. Oh, no, we're back. We're good. Video's okay. We'll keep going. Jeez, wasn't that White Six again coming in?
I don't. The whole thing, everything flickered.
Oh man, it's freaking me out.
They're infiltrating everywhere. They've been on Raw. They've been
we are as
infiltrating the Pat McAfee show too.
We are as important as Pat McAfee.
We are.
Clearly.
We are.
We are.
Everybody. We are very
They've
reputable.
been at Whataburger. Mark Henry knows all about
We
that.
were at Five Guys.
Have you seen that? Have you seen how angry Mark Henry got about the fact they took a photo with a fan at Whataburger?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got
did.
very angry.
It's killing kayfabe. Mate, kayfabe has been dead for decades.
Yeah, mate. Since they introduced Twitter, there's been no such thing as
He
kayfabe.
was literally like, they should have gone through the drive-through and eaten in the car.
I do like how all the WWE superstars were trying to keep kayfabe alive when that White Six debut happened.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It was great.
It's a good part of the story.
But then Whataburger happened and Mark Henry chucked a fit.
Yeah,
Yeah, look, I mean, I could see that side of it, but like we said, it's to the point now where...
Like, we're in a different age.
yeah.
It's a different age. Like, we can't... The secrets that they've managed to pull off this year, props to them for being able to keep those secrets.
Yes. Oh, you keep your secrets. Yeah, you're right. And I think a lot of that also then falls on us as the wrestling marks that we are, is that we go looking for this kind of news.
Exactly.
For the general, I don't want to say casual fan, but like the person that just turns on Raw and watches Raw and, oh, that was fun. And then they watch it again next week as the episodic TV show that it is. Yeah. They get all those cool things because they never see that photo on Twitter of the White Six. They don't care.
No.
They watch the White Six characters. Like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's
So
like
for them,
like that, like,
it's fine. For us who go looking for it, it's our own fault.
yeah, and like that's the thing. That's why I'm really glad that you didn't ruin that Jordan Grace Royal Rumble appearance for me. I really appreciate that
You're welcome.
because I had heard nothing about her being in town
Rowdy
for the
just
Royal Rumble.
thank you for something instead of telling you suck and...
Well, no, Ted, you're the one that sucks around.
I mean, you say that now, but you've definitely said that to
I think
Dan
it's
before.
because he's overtired for the entire weekend. That's
He's
why.
gotten super nice.
No,
Maybe that's that secret. We just have to get him tired, and all of a sudden he
Get
becomes
him tired and put him in a Matt Cardona shirt, and all of a sudden,
Matt Cardona.
which if you didn't see from our, or when you do watch our World Series Wrestling recap, we got ourselves a little
You
sign.
love showing that card.
Mate, it's a
off, don't
great
you?
card.
that is a nice card.
Yeah, it's
Signed.
a
Nice
Matt card. Donor.
I'm taking my lead.
Mr. Nice
82
Guy
of
is
100.
gone.
What a card. It's lovely.
In some sad news, most people have probably seen this. If you haven't, unfortunately, Roman Reigns' father, Sika, passed away earlier this
Half
week.
of the Wild Samoans.
So
There was a really nice tribute to him on SmackDown.
I
did a
really
good
enjoyed
video.
that video
Yeah.
because, like, not having much exposure to him when I was growing up because he had his time had like been and gone already by the
Yeah.
time like I was really invested in wrestling, and like you get those little like montage videos of when they got inducted into the Hall of Fame, but like what they put together for SmackDown was spectacular.
Yeah, and I loved the clip that they showed of when Roman, I think it was the first Cody match at WrestleMania, and the whole crowd were like booing Roman because they didn't want him to win. And you just watch Sika in the crowd cheering and chanting for him. He was so pumped for what Roman was doing. Look, it's one of those sad stories, you know, but it's also at a point, you know, now where unfortunately a lot of the wrestlers that we all grew up watching are getting to that age where they start to get old and they are going to start passing away.
Yeah.
So
because he was in his 70s.
he was 77, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so the outpouring of respect that you get from the rest of the wrestling community about it, and then
Like
you hear this,
everyone too, like,
and you hear the stories of, you
TNA,
know,
Ring of Honor, AEW,
yeah,
and they're
like
just
what,
yeah.
what they brought into
Condolences.
to wrestling and how they transformed tag team wrestling and the perception of what the Samoans could be. And we obviously now know that the Bloodline is probably the biggest like family dynasty in wrestling ever.
Yeah.
It's come from these guys.
But you know what? I mean, one of the things that when things about this, because I get pretty empathetic with stuff like this, because it makes you think about how I would feel if I was Roman and my father passed away. Yeah. But I look at it and go, I'd be pretty happy in the sense of, because his father got to see him in the greatest WrestleMania main event, if not the greatest main event of all time. So I hope that brings him a little bit of solace. Together, so hopefully Roman and his family are doing all right.
Yeah, and the rest of the bloodline too.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's going to be, not to make light of it, but it's going to be interesting to see if it comes up at some point in any sort of promos in the bloodline stuff.
That'd be touchy.
Well, it is the bloodline, right?
Can you just wait until Christian Cage comes back to WWE? Too soon?
I feel bad for laughing at that, man. I feel bad for laughing at that.
In some happy news, and this has been verified online as actually happening.
Actual wedding?
Rhea and Buddy got married just outside of Adelaide. I can't remember the name of the place, but
was it the Adelaide Hills?
It was tagged by Slex on Instagram. It looked like a nice place. It was reported in the Australian news as a Gothic-style wedding.
I mean, have you seen some of the photos coming around?
It doesn't mean the whole wedding was Gothic just because she wore black, dude. It's like, oh, they wore black. Oh, I'm surprised.
I think the really nice touch that I found when Slex uploaded the photos of him at the wedding was that he put the Addams Family jingle at the start of it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Congratulations,
Rhea.
Congratulations
and Buddy too, I should say.
To Meaty, because you found out that was her actual name.
Yeah, I thought Demi was just.
You thought it was Demi? No, it's not her full name. Congratulations to them, and then also Angelo Dawkins got married too.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
And officiated by Montez Ford too.
Montez officiated. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So he's a celebrant.
Good.
He must
news.
be. Yeah.
Jeez, there you go.
I don't think it's too time consuming to get that sort of paperwork done and become an officiant. So,
like a celebrant or whatever.
Yeah, if they're that close and they've been friends for years and years and years, I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be maybe you become an officiant for Dan's next wedding. Or
next wedding.
Wedding.
Shots fired.
Wow, bro. I mean, you're the one getting married.
Just because he was the MC for my first wedding, doesn't mean.
Anyone needs an MC, hit me up.
MC Kettles.
Kish only.
Kish. Take Kish.
Pity Kish.
Both of those are really cool things, and I think that it's interesting to see that Rhea and that got married in Adelaide. I didn't know it was here.
Yeah, I didn't know
they
were back in Australia for it.
Yeah. But I mean, considering they're both Australian, it makes total sense.
They're all their families.
Exactly. So back to America. DJack got ratioed. I don't even know if that's the right term to use. I just want to say it.
Look, his contract didn't get renewed and it ran out.
Yeah, it ran out. So I'm sure if someone asks Triple H, why did DJack get fired? There'll be he didn't get fired. His contract expired.
Well,
but is it interesting because he was in the
they're
draft,
really doing
right?
that a lot more these days, letting contracts expire rather than having people have 90-day no compete clauses and all that sort of mumbo jumbo. But yeah, it's just really weird that DJack gets drafted to Raw and then 2 months later he's gone.
But I guess things change, man. We've talked about it previously on the podcast about how much Triple H is creating these stories, so there's multiple branches that they can go down because obviously, injuries happen, illnesses happen, things change. And there must have been a plan for him, and then I would say plans have changed.
Yeah. Well, which is it's a bummer because I've been a big fan of DJack for years, and we all collectively try and forget about Retribution.
As we should.
Which, it started off.
I had forgotten about it until you said that name again. I went, oh, yeah, that's right.
It started with potential.
You know, the only one who's still around now is Mia Yim.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's crazy.
There you go.
But she left and then came back.
Yeah, true.
Correct.
Yeah. True.
But, it just sucks.
Interesting.
But,
you look at what DJack was doing in NXT, right? That triple threat with him, was it him, Josh Briggs and Oba? Was probably one of the best matches on WrestleMania weekend. The entire thing of WrestleMania weekend, that was probably one of the best. And he was pitched to be involved in the NXT title at some point, and then they drafted him up, and then they let him go. I don't understand it.
He's gonna turn up somewhere else. We know this for a fact, right?
With all the rumors that have been coming around, apparently it was known that he was leaking information to Fightful Select. He was one of their main informants.
Yeah,
right.
Apparently, WWE executives knew that, and that might be the reason why
I'm sure it would have contributed to
was
it.
run out.
It would have contributed.
It was
to
very
sure.
convenient that the day after his contract expired, he had an hour-and-a-half interview with Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select.
Yes.
Yeah,
online
there-
straight
look,
away.
that explains it then, man.
I kind of hope for him. I think that the DJack character, and like we've talked about him before about ratioing Santi's app and stuff.
Yeah.
He's very good with his online presence.
Yes.
I
He uses
think-
it to his full advantage.
He needs to do the Matt Cardona
Absolutely.
and do the indie runs and go to everything. He's already booked for Rev Pro against Michael Oku, which would be a great match because like they're both fantastic wrestlers.
He teased showing up at Forbidden Door today, which did not happen.
Yeah, which is fine. Tease as much as you want. But like I think that's what he needs to do. Stick to the indies, stick to the smaller shows, and control, feast your eyes of what DJack
Maybe
is.
we'll see him at World Series Wrestling next year.
Do
You
or
never know,
DJack.
mate. You never know. It'd be
I love
great.
that.
He's
Do a
going with the
DJack. That's
DJack
cool.
hijack at the moment.
The DJack hijack, do or DJack. Like he's got some good stuff. Stick to the indie scene. I don't think he needs to go to a TNA or an AEW to try and be relevant. Stay relevant on the indies like Matt
Well,
Cardona has.
Matt's been to both a couple of times. Just do that.
Correct.
I mean,
Don't-
AEW, we've said this a million times. They're already so stacked. Probably not a good time to go there, to be honest. So Indies is probably a good choice. But speaking of people leaving WWE, Ricochet has been moved to the alumni page.
Who
on the
also didn't
WWE
show up
website.
at Forbidden Door today.
No.
So there goes everyone's theories about it.
I think this is definitely going down the way that, Bully Ray was talking about on Busted Open and we talked about before. I think this is definitely WWE really playing it up and trying to get everyone to believe that Ricochet has left.
He could be off contract within the next week or so. Because I think recent report I saw from Sean Ross at Fightful said that he's not appearing at Forbidden Door because he's still under contract for X amount of time.
Yeah, and it's like the thing with DJack is it's not a firing or anything or it's being released.
contract's
His
just
contract
running.
runs out. So
Same
if his
thing's
contract
happening
ends,
with Natalia at the moment. She's apparently not re-signed and she's removed all WWE references from her
Yeah, I saw that too.
social media pages.
And the thing with that is if
Rebecca
they
Quinn
end
as well,
if they end on
Becky
July
Lynch.
10, and then they show up at AW July 11. Like there is no there's no 90-day non-compete stuff. So
And I think like that's probably the best business move under this new regime in WWE.
yeah.
If you're not going to use people, just let their contract run out and then let them wrestle straight away. Because God knows we all hated that whole 90-day compete clause thing.
Yeah.
So it's good that it's less prevalent these days.
Because it did hinder the gender.
But it did hinder the gender. Look, I think hopefully with stuff like this, maybe we're going to see more of things like World Series Wrestling and, instead of jumping over to AEW or, probably not TNA because, they're owned by the same company up the chain. But, potentially, as you said, more indie stuff. And because we've already seen it, right? The international community for wrestling will pay to go see wrestling. If you take wrestling to their country, they're turning up in droves, man. So
And you've got New Japan, you've got MLW, you've got Rev Pro, you've got a whole bunch of different things all across the world. Like these guys aren't short a paycheck.
no.
And a person like Ricochet or DJack or Natalia will get a signing on any of these shows.
Correct.
And if they do, like we talked about it in the World Series Wrestling show review that we will be putting up later this week, when you're charging for meet and greets and photo opportunities and all that sort of stuff,
they get their money
They
worth.
really generate their own income.
They really
doing
do.
all these
Well, yeah,
indie
like
circuits and stuff.
Dolphy Zig or Nick Nemeth was $50 a photo.
Yeah.
There would have been 50 to 100 people in line pretty much at all times of the event that we were at.
Yeah.
Multiply that by the 4 different cities.
Yeah.
He's making a fair amount
It's
of
a whole
money
lot of
just to,
pineapples,
stand,
man.
just to stand there and smile.
Whole lot of pineapples. So yeah, look, I think but Natalia, if she has left or is leaving, she's had a bloody good run, man. It's gonna be close to 20 years, right? It's gonna be close.
So, back to the original point of the story was Ricochet. Yeah. Is this a work?
yeah, it's a work.
Or is Ricochet gone? Where do we
they're
sit?
really cluing in the fact that everyone's paying attention to all these little details, and
Yeah.
I reckon we're getting worked 100%.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Because it's similar to what's happening with Drew and CM Punk, with everybody noticing the social media stuff with them. It's along that sort of line, and obviously they've done a lot with the White Six and all the stuff they do with that. They are very aware that there is a group of fans that do all that advertising for them that they don't have to do. They just have to do something, and then everyone advertises for them that it's happened.
Social media, man.
So it's free publicity, man.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I can't remember the term we used in marketing for it, but I think it was earned media, something along those lines, I think is what they
Yeah.
consider it. So keep doing it, man, because people are spreading
It's
it for
working.
free.
Yep.
WrestleMania. Apparently a documentary will be coming out for WrestleMania
Speaking
40.
of getting worked,
Yeah.
everything's going to come out in this documentary. Everything about that
3rd
whole
of
WrestleMania
July,
event.
I believe.
Yeah, so
was the
for
date
us
set.
Australians, it's going to be Thursday. In 3 days.
The one thing I wanted to point out to this, and I haven't told you guys when I put the notes down.
Ooh.
So when's it coming out?
Should be Thursday this week for us.
Thursday for us. So that means
Yeah.
what time for America?
It'll be
8
Wednesday.
PM
You mean
on
Wednesday night? Dynamite.
Oh, how's that
But
for
it's
timing?
only it's on YouTube. It's not on TV.
Sure, but
still.
how do you get your eyes off your competitor's product? Is you launch
100%
your
be watching that.
WrestleMania.
You launch a documentary about quite possibly the greatest main event of all time. Which you were saying initially the documentary was going to be 15 minutes.
So yeah, like
But it's going to
back
be longer
when we
than that?
watched WrestleMania, they were like, "Oh, in 3 days' time, we're going to have this documentary out."
Yeah.
and then I think we all kind of just forgot about it because it just didn't come out.
Because The Rock wasn't happy with how it was cut.
This is what happened. So, rumors. I think it was reported by Fightful or
There's a few different places.
Wrestling
Even
We
Observer.
were told by DJack.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
And then Wrestling Observer also reported on it. It was originally scheduled to be like 15 minutes, half an hour, and it's now, I think, around 90 minutes. They suggested.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
surely
it's
there'd
gonna
be
up-
enough content for that.
It is going to be a proper in-depth documentary about the build to the tag match, and then probably encompassing the title change.
The Roman stuff too. Yeah.
Is it mainly just going to be about the Bloodline stuff, or is there going to be anything
Well,
else?
like from all the little like teasers and stuff they've dropped, it's just about like that bloodline,
It's the four of
final
them.
boss,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. But there's stuff
okay.
in there. Triple H, like one of the clips has been coming out, is Triple H has said 80% of the WrestleMania card was booked in October. And
Yeah.
it was like it was penciled in, it was done and dusted. In
Yeah,
October.
wow.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's releasing at 7 p.m. on YouTube in the US.
Yeah.
And Dynamite's at 8.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So it's not-
Interesting.
It's got to
Interesting to see how
kill.
their
It's got to
numbers
kill
go.
their lead in again.
Yeah, it's going to
Oh,
kill the
man.
leading because it's not going to be Big Bang Theory.
Oh no, Big Bang Theory. Look, I'm super stoked to see this and the fact that it's on YouTube, so we'll be able to watch it. I do love these back of house.
I
stuff.
really love
I
it,
know
yeah.
some people are a little
say
bit
it all
like
the time.
don't pull back the curtain kind of thing, and by the sounds of it, I think obviously they're only pulling back the curtain on the Bloodline stuff. I think there's other matches they're not pulling the
I
curtain
mean,
back
like,
on just yet, but.
They usually do like they've got their WWE 24 series
Yeah,
on
exactly.
the network and their streaming platforms and
Yeah.
stuff. They usually do in-depth behind the scenes stuffs for WrestleMania through that. I think that it's just getting
It's
done in a
just that,
different format
but,
this
yeah.
year.
Because one of the things I was sort of thinking, and the reason I asked this was because I was sort of interested to see, would have been the build up to Becky and Rhea having their match. Because obviously it came out afterwards that Becky was horrendously ill
Yeah.
and still went out there and wrestled.
Rhea
And I'd
wasn't
really.
feeling great that day either. She
No.
was having panic attacks backstage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was throwing up
She had a,
before.
It'd be really interesting to see like if another like WrestleMania 40 like generalized documentary comes out, and then like get to see from their perspective like
Yeah.
how they
I
were
don't
dealing with
know-
that and overcame it.
I don't know if I'd want to see the actual panic attack itself because
Oh,
obviously I think that's
absolutely
something
not.
that's very private. But
Absolutely
in
not.
terms of maybe the aftermath and them getting her to a point
Overcoming
where
it
she's able
and
to
then-
overcome it and everything else. But
I think
yeah.
that like the comp to
that's
this, the comp to this is the for those that watch NFL or American sports. Have you ever watched the Hard Knocks series?
no.
So the Hard Knocks is like the 8 weeks or whatever of the training camp up to the NFL.
Yep.
And you get to watch how all the teams get together and then how they start. Or they generally pick one team.
Yeah.
So it's like the LA Rams season. And so then you watch their preseason, how they build, how they cut their squad, and all the stuff behind the scenes to see how it gets through.
Yeah, they did on The
That's-
Simpsons one time.
Yeah. That that was with baseball.
Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it.
Oh,
the episode where Homer is the coach. Cut.
Yeah.
Cut. Sorry.
But that like peek behind the curtain and the behind the scenes stuff is really interesting for a lot of people on sport specifically because it's one of those kind of things that like, you know, you would love to be a sports person or, you know, you love watching sports, but you've never ever reached that level.
Yeah.
So seeing behind the curtain and seeing that stuff is really interesting to you.
Yeah.
It's the same with wrestling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We love wrestling. We all do. We would love to, when we were kids, to be a WWE superstar. We all wanted to pop stunners and rock bottoms on everybody.
Yeah.
We never
Yeah.
got there. Now you get a chance to see behind the scenes of how that all gets together. That's the super interesting stuff that I love.
Well, and the thing that and I think you're spot on to what I was thinking about it because when you see some of the older docos as well, and that's what I was sort of thinking because, like for example, we've come here to record this podcast and we're all quite tired, but you know it's just because we've been on an awesome trip to go watch some wrestling. So you know we've had to pep ourselves up to get on here and talk about it. But I'm thinking about the ones like Stone Cold Steve Austin when he went to perform at WrestleMania one time and he was literally going through a divorce.
Yep.
So he's been served divorce papers and he has to walk out of those curtains, drink beer, raise hell, and just act like everything's absolutely normal. And this probably happens so often for wrestlers because they are just performers and they're human beings that go through all the things that we go through, like family members passing away, etc. And sometimes that news does not happen in a timely fashion. You find things out right before you're about to go out and perform in front of
the recent
crowd.
one, Alba Fire.
Yeah.
Her mum
yeah,
died
absolutely.
a couple of weeks before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I think
then
it's
she's
going to
gotta
be
go out there.
it's going to be some sort of like method acting. Like you hear all these stories about like when Heath Ledger was doing the Joker and like how his method acting was to lock himself away.
And Jared
like,
Leto
just to,
did the
like,
same thing.
Sort of like change your mind to think differently.
Yeah.
And like the wrestlers doing it, like they made kind of like The Rock said previously, like the Rock character is Dwayne Johnson just turned up to 11.
Yeah.
Like there's different levels to these characters they portray on TV, and being able to like go through stuff like that in your personal life and then just like flip a switch and then be
Yeah, absolutely.
the character you're portraying. Like,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just crazy.
And I think the good thing that we'll hopefully see with this documentary is right now, those are 4 of the biggest characters in wrestling. The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Like they are, all of those people turn up to like 21 on their list. They're like right up. So I'm really intrigued to see how this comes out.
Well, and again, because we don't really do things in order anymore, and I try to just segue things in a good way. Speaking of method acting, we're going to leave all the AEW stuff to the end, and we're going to talk a bit more about some more WWE stuff.
Sure.
Speaking of method acting, Paul Heyman deserves an Oscar,
An Emmy, absolutely.
an Emmy, an Oscar, a BAFTA, everything.
Paul Heyman deserves an Emmy for Best Supporting Actor.
Absolutely.
Sign him up.
Absolutely.
So apparently, he purposely stayed up.
All
I
night?
don't know if it was all night, but he stayed up
late.
purposely late, didn't shave, didn't dye his hair.
Yep.
Because I was thinking to myself, I thought, what did he? Has he put like some eye drops or something in his eye to make his eyes go red or something? But apparently, he stayed up late to make himself look so disheveled for the
work.
I
bloodline.
really love when he
segment.
puts in this commitment because we saw it a little bit. I think it was earlier in the year or late last year when Roman had been away for an extended period.
Yeah.
And he was just dealing with Solo and Jimmy shit like he usually does. And like you could see it as the weeks went on. He stopped shaving, stopped dyeing his hair. He looked really disheveled and stuff. And like what he was able to pull off between SmackDown last week and then this week, and the difference, it was just ridiculous.
And I mean, that as a character is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then his facial reactions to everything. The way that on SmackDown when Solo had him backstage and he's like, where's Jacob Fatu?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's not here. And Heyman was like, okay, all right. And then when he comes out, the look on his face, how scared, he was just like, you told me he wasn't here.
Yeah.
His facial expressions are perfect.
And then
Pitch perfect.
And then when he said, I acknowledge
Acknowledge
that
you.
you are not my tribal chief, and then just like breaks down.
Because he knows what he just
He
did.
knows what's
Hit me,
about to
man.
happen.
That hit me.
And the fact that,
was
he took a
ridiculous.
table spot, man, like how old is he now? He's got to be pushing 60.
I think he's 58.
Yeah, he'd be close to
yeah,
60.
he's got to be pretty close. And he took that table bump
Pretty well.
Like the storyline I'm getting reinvested in with the Bloodline again. There was a little bit there where Solo being the new tribal chief and stuff. I was a little bit skeptical. I'm like, I'm not sure, but this is really getting me invested again. And I like the fact that they've done so well with taking out the other parts of the story. So there was no one to come and help Paul.
Yeah. I was
'Cause
going to mention that.
I know there's been some criticism by other podcasts who have way more experience in wrestling, like Busted Open, etc., where they talk about that, or Jim Cornette, where they'll talk about someone gets attacked, but they go, but why did no one come to help them? Like there's all these faces out the back that didn't help. But in this case, they really crossed their T's and dotted their I's because, CM Punk had been taken out the week before.
Yeah.
And then the others like Randy and Cody. And KO.
They got escorted out of the arena.
Correct. So no
earlier
one
that
was
night.
there to help Paulie Heyman. So
And what I really liked about that as well, because everyone was just waiting, because Zilla Fatu had teased on social media, "See you soon."
Yep.
So everyone's like, Zilla's showing up on SmackDown. Hikuleo's still incoming. Like everyone was like, is this when Roman comes back? And everyone was just waiting with bated breath for someone to
they just
save
blew
Paul
balls.
Heyman, and nobody came out.
And I think the other thing
And
that
that
we
made it
touched
more
on
impactful.
last week when they first debuted Jacob Fatu, which was brilliant, we all love the debut from him,
still
was the intrepid looks of the Tongans. They were both a bit unsure and a bit unsettled of what Jacob was like. They cleared that up this week.
Yep.
Because Solo said, you all acknowledge me. The line when Solo said, acknowledge me, and the whole crowd just like,
Booed.
oh, that was great. But yeah, the fact that, Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu all acknowledged him, all said they love Solo. Like
They love him.
because I was
They put some emphasis on
I
that.
was really skeptical watching Jacob Fatu pace behind.
Yeah.
And the look on his eyes, I was like, is he gonna turn?
I
And
think, I think they're playing into that Samoan werewolf character. Like, he's
Yes.
fully unhinged. And the,
Is
the
he- is he-
entrance aura
Oh,
that
that-
they've given Jacob
he
Fatu.
didn't get death
Like,
friendly, thank
I
God.
thought Tamatonga had some aura with his entrance. They've just ramped it up for Jacob Fatu.
Jacob Fatu, I'd have to look back at the family tree of the bloodline, but he is very much related to Umaga, right? Because he gives me mad Umaga vibes when I saw him there. I was watching him with his
No.
facial expressions and back and forth. I swear to God, he was...
No, he's Haku's son, isn't he?
We're going to have to look this
We're
up.
going to have to look it up.
We're going to have to
and
look this
report
up.
it
But he was
I
just
don't
like the vibe he was giving me. I was like, man, that's really giving me like scary Umaga vibes.
What was really interesting that I've found out during the week was that on the indie circuit, Jacob Fatu was actually managed by Alejandro Sada, who managed Umaga.
Yeah,
You
I
know
did
that?
see that. Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
So
Right,
everyone's
okay.
like, say hello to your new bloodline wise man.
Yeah.
could
That'd
be-
be interesting.
That
I think
could be interesting.
That really like wraps that whole thing up in a neat little package.
Rikishi.
The fact that we're talking about there's going to be 2 break-offs of the bloodline,
Yeah.
like, this is going to be
We're all
incredible.
just itching
It's gonna
for
be
it.
incredible.
just can you imagine Rikishi coming back and being the wise man against his sons?
That'd be
Because
awesome.
like obviously I think like the
Well,
plot to this story,
one of his sons is in the group.
yeah, is obviously that Heyman is now going to be off TV for a while, right?
Yes.
Heyman's now gone, and we assume. I can't wait for that pop when Solo and that are destroying someone and they're running everything, and then you just hear, "Ladies and gentlemen."
Yeah.
And
I
then-
was more thinking, that's my terrible
the
rendition of
Roman's music.
Roman's music.
It'll happen,
But it's going to be a mad pop when Roman comes back now, man.
I think-
How crazy is that? Roman doesn't even have to do anything to be face. He's just going to turn up
Yeah.
and he's automatically going to be a face.
Oh,
I think
well,
if
like
they-
we still enjoyed Roman when he was around before
Of course
WrestleMania.
we did.
yeah.
Of course we did.
If they do this right, you get the pop for Heyman when Heyman returns. You get the pop when Jimmy returns.
Yep.
And then you get the monster pop when Roman returns.
Yeah,
I think if they
Yeah.
book this the right way, all of them can feel great. And I think that will then, like we've said, build to Survivor Series to a War Games match, and then we just go crazy
And
with the bloodline.
I gotta
Love the
say,
long-term storytelling.
Cody was wrong, man. They weren't in the bottom of the 9th. He just thought they were. I
Yeah.
think they were probably in about the 6th or 7th innings, maybe. Not even
Well,
that.
it might have been the bottom of the 9th for that title saga.
Yeah.
But for the bloodline story,
It's still going.
Yeah, still
mate,
going.
we're still going. We're still
And
going.
then other points about WWE. We had some tag title changes. So your new tag team champions, which Reese wants to keep pointing out. I think you got to try and find the clip
I have
where
to.
we
I
predicted.
will put in the effort, and I will try and find this clip because we predicted
We did.
last year when they started teasing tension with Damian Priest and Judgment Day.
Yeah.
That Finn Balor and JD McDonough would be tag team champions, and
Yeah.
it has come to fruition.
Finally.
Which is great because they're both fantastic wrestlers. McDonough's really done his dues in terms of he's been absolutely battered around that ring and sold like a champion for everyone else. And to team him up with someone like Finn Balor with his kind of pedigree.
Trained JD
Yeah,
McDonough.
exactly. And, so congratulations to JD to be able to
Absolutely.
do that.
I'm really glad from this that,
Yeah.
that they won the titles. I'm more glad that Truth and Miz no longer have the titles.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because I love Miz and I love Truth, but it got
look.
very stale very quickly.
It did. It did.
There goes the camera, just so we're aware.
Oh, and we're frozen, but we're going to continue on. So definitely do not adjust your computer screens. We're going to continue on. We're just having some camera issues,
all
but
right.
we'll put up some
We'll get
other, I don't know, thumbnail, beautiful pictures of dogs or something. I don't know.
It won't be dogs.
Whatever. No, it won't be dogs.
I like we said, I love the fact that they won the tag titles.
Yep.
I think it was good, and I think we said this on the podcast last week around the championship expectations. How we said that Roman and that it's been multiple years we've got to stop having that.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that this was a title change for a match that was announced at the start of Raw
Yeah.
and happened on the end of Raw, and the titles changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
That was really good. And I love the way that they have now used this to seed the Liv into the Judgment Day storyline.
Correct.
Oh, it's
Because
going to work.
You had the scenes with, Finn playing NBA, bloody WWE 2K in the background with Liv popping out of the Judgment Den.
Dom
Yeah,
eating a
Dom
platter of
eating-
chicken
Oh,
nuggets.
the nuggets, man. Oh, my God.
And the selfie from Liv,
Yeah.
we assume it was a photo of Liv that Carlito thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But the way that she then coerced R-Truth into giving up the title shot while Miz was on commentary,
Yeah.
like all of these little bits. At the end of the day, it was a Judgment Day winning a tag title again off
Yeah.
Miz and R-Truth, which you're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
But you put it all together with all the little steps.
Yeah.
It was really well done.
The
Different
Judgment
form of Judgment Day as well.
The
That's what's
Judgment
really
Day
exciting.
split that's coming is gonna be pretty big. Like it's gonna be. I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be hard because you've got Bloodline and Judgment Day stuff going on. But the fact that they've obviously split them on shows now, so you've got the Bloodline happening on SmackDown, and you're gonna have the Judgment Day split happening on Raw, which is absolutely cool. So very much looking forward to all that.
Yeah.
Now the other bit, Dan, that you wanted to talk about. Now I have to admit I haven't actually seen this bit, so you're gonna have to describe it to me and excite me. Was about Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas.
So this was cinema. This
Absolutely.
was
Are we agreeing that this era is called the cinematic era, by the
should
way?
be.
I think we should definitely coin that
Because
phrase.
you've said that,
Yeah.
but I think that's probably a good title for
So
this era.
the whole pitch to this, and we won't go into all of everything that happened on Raw, but essentially we knew that Chad Gable was going to be involved with this Wyatt's things because they killed him last week. Turns out he's not dead. He was just shaken up a little bit.
Yeah.
But he had a Money in that qualifier. He won. That was well done. And then as he wins, and then they did the Wyatt thing with the lights. Cha-chung, 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 and all the lights start going out.
Yeah.
The dry ice starts going everywhere. They're going to have massive dry ice budgets in the next couple of months for WWE, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nikki Cross crawls out
Yep.
into the ring. Chad shits his pants, runs away.
Yep.
She just walks over to Michael Cole and hands him an Amazon package, like a box. He opens it up and it's a VHS. And he has to explain to kids this was what an old tape was. So we'll go try and see if we can find
I have to admit, that made me feel old. I did see the bit where he said, we managed to find a VHS
Yeah.
player. And I thought, no, you didn't. There's no VHS
no.
player. VHS player.
The discourse coming out about that is the fact that Michael Cole, who was around during that time,
Yeah.
called it a VHS machine instead of a VCR.
VCR, correct. Yeah, that's right.
Oopsie.
But I suppose kids wouldn't understand
No.
that.
So then they went and found one and they played it for everybody. This was brilliantly shot because all of the editing and filming of it to make it look like a VCR, spot on.
worked.
It was
Worked.
absolutely
Absolutely.
brilliant. You start with Uncle Howdy and he talks about, like just who are you? What are you doing? That kind of thing. Are you happy? And it sort of pans across and out of focus is a person. And you can sort of tell who it is. And then it focuses in and it's Bo Dallas.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, hang on a minute. We all know that Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy. How is this happening?
Yeah.
And then he asks him, are you happy? Do you feel like that you're using your brother's legacy?
Taking advantage of his
You're
legacy.
taking advantage of his legacy.
How are you feeling since your brother
Your brother
died?
died.
And it was such a because it was like, are you happy? And that sort of stuff. And then it was just like, bam, to the point. And when I was watching, I was just like, holy shit, did he actually just say that?
Yeah.
And then watching Bo's response, you could tell that it's still such a sensitive topic for him to talk about as
Yeah.
well, because you could see that he was processing his
I also
emotions,
think to this-
trying to keep himself in check so he can deliver this promo.
He delivered it brilliantly.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that this was Bo Dallas. I think
Taylor.
this was Taylor Rotunda. And the way that he came out and he said that, Bray's loss hurts everybody, but it hurts no one more than me.
Yeah.
He was my brother. I always wanted to look up to him. I always wanted to be with him. And as soon as we got a chance to be together, it was
Everything
ripped
came
away
apart.
from us.
Yeah.
This, even if you said you've missed some of the stuff from Raw, go back and watch this promo
okay.
because it is so well shot, it is so well done, and it's so well acted. And I really hope that this means that, the next 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to get Uncle Howdy
Yeah.
interviewing each of the Wyatts.
That would be amazing. And
would
what
be
I really liked about it was only just at the last second before the promo ended that I realized that interview was taking place
funhouse.
inside the Firefly Funhouse.
Oh, I've really
all
gotta go
the
back
lights
watch
and
this
stuff
now.
were taken out, but you could,
Yeah, but you could very faintly make out the windows and the sign on the door in the background, and I was like, "Holy shit! That is layers
And,
to this storytelling."
the point to what I guess Bo said was that everybody moved on.
Yeah.
Everyone forgot about us. And then Uncle Howdy was, saying that you're not going to forget now.
Yeah.
That's
We
cool,
will
man.
make you remember.
All right. I got to go back and watch that
It
for
was
sure.
You definitely do.
brilliant.
Oh,
So
cinematic era we are
if
in.
next week, I don't want it to be an interview with Huskus the Rabbit or whatever. I want it to be with Eric Rowan.
But
Or Joe Gacy.
don't
Yeah,
necessarily rush it too much either, man. If you go a show without an interview, I don't mind that necessarily. Maybe with something else and then interview
You
again.
kind of have to. You have to talk away why it's not there.
I think
true.
the thing that crossed my mind today when I was thinking about it is when do we expect an in-ring debut from any of the party members?
Maybe SummerSlam.
Because that was my thinking as well. Because when Bray Wyatt initially debuted the Fiend character, that was first appearance
Yeah.
Yeah.
at SummerSlam.
Yep.
So I wonder if that's going to be like a
Yeah,
big stage
that
where they
would-
have
that would tie
maybe
in.
Uncle Howdy's first match or
Well, aren't they
something
doing?
happening.
Aren't they doing not Hell in a Cell, but are they bringing back another pay per view towards
Bad
the end
Blood.
of the year? Bad Blood. That could be.
Could
it.
be.
Bad
yeah.
Blood, headlined by Drew McIntyre and CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean that'd be one too. But
Bad blood. Makes sense.
Bad Blood.
I think,
yeah,
I think you hold
absolutely.
this out. I think you do a series of interviews. This
Yeah.
the way they set this Uncle Howdy thing was fantastic.
I-
Keep going.
Now that you've mentioned it, and I think I've seen other people mention it during the week, having an interview with each member, just like talking about their experiences and how they've evolved into this stage
And how
of their careers and
Bray
their
got them
character.
here.
Yeah, I really want to see that pay off now.
Yeah.
I hope they do it.
Now, we're going to finish on a couple of notes from AEW, and I'm just going to make a real quick point that for anyone sitting here thinking we're going to talk about all of Collision and Forbidden Door that happened today, we're not going to because we just driven back from World Series Wrestling.
we
were
have no
watching,
time to watch it,
and we don't have time to watch, what was it, 13 matches on the card?
14.
14 matches on the card, 2 stacked, too many matches. Cut it back, Tony, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But we did love the fact that Robbie Eagles
He's
did
probably
appear on
still
Collision.
out there talking on
probably
his
is.
press conference.
But yeah, Robbie Eagles appeared on AEW and on Collision, which was awesome. It was
a
a shame
Dynamite,
that he
yeah.
took the pin, but our boy
Yeah.
Robbie,
Our boy Robbie
Awesome,
Eagles,
Robbie,
mate.
thank you.
Teaming with Shane Hayes. Good Aussie representation.
and he had some great moves in there, really showed off his skills in that ring, as he usually does. So thank you and congratulations to our boy Robbie. But
Can we get a Robbie?
Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, there we go.
hey, but the news I wanted to talk about, Dan, you mentioned that AEW have signed Glacier as a coach. For those of you who might not know who we're talking about, on a previous draft video where we drafted the worst gimmicks of all time,
I picked Glacier.
one of the characters that made it was Glacier, who was in WCW in the 90s and was the biggest ripoff of Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat that you've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah, so now has been hired as a coach at AEW, Dan.
Sure.
That's a bit of a cold response.
That's a good
icy.
one. Yeah. It's a
ask
good one,
What
Ted.
else do we say? Like, no offense to him, but like, out of all the people that you can get to come to AEW
And coach?
to help coach your people,
He could
Why
be really
him?
He could be really good behind
Maybe
the
he
scenes.
could
We
be.
don't know.
I mean, maybe he's really cheap because they're running out of money because they're, spending $100 million on a roster. I don't know.
Yeah.
rumored.
Yeah, rumored amount. I think it's very interesting that that's the kind of thing that they're bringing in to try and sort of coach from that era, I guess, rather than sort of more focusing on maybe the younger talent. They're going back to get someone like Glacier and that to help the younger talent evolve. And you look at, like, I watched Dynamite. We just watched the highlights of Dynamite before. You've got like the Danny Garcia is coming out and talking to MJF,
Yep.
and they're setting up something for All In, and then Ospreay comes out and they said something. All three of those guys are under, or maybe Ospreay's over 30, but they're all pretty much under 30.
Yeah.
Like they have a very talented young roster. You've also got, the Young Bucks, the Kenny Omegas, the Okadas that are, closer to 40 that are you would say experienced and what
Yeah.
AEW has. I think that they should be using that kind of talent to help the younger guys.
Can I just point out, I was literally just thinking about that, right? Sting just retired from in-ring action. Surely there's an option for a coach.
Yep.
Jericho could actually be a proper learning tree and not one on camera and go and do that.
Yeah.
They had Mark Henry signed for crying out loud. Paul White, the Big Show, was there. You've got all these people that could already be coaching. And Billy Gunn. How could he? Why is he not coaching? Are they coaching though? How many coaches do you need?
It's very fitting that I actually read this today
Yep.
because there's a topic that links into this. Medusa has come out and said that she has been around AEW recently, around training and all that sort of stuff. Dustin Rhodes does training with his
Yes, he does.
academy.
I'm not shocked by that. Yep.
He does voluntary training sessions, free training sessions for AEW talent.
Yeah, wow.
And Medusa just happened to be there one day, and she's come out on a podcast or in an interview somewhere with this information. Hasn't named any names about AEW talent, but she's come out and said that she was at one of Dustin's training sessions, and there was next to no AEW talent there when the offer is open to them for free to get these training lessons. So from her perspective, it just shows a lack of interest and commitment to the business side of things, and them wanting to evolve and create themselves as a star for this company.
Interesting.
And I thought that was really telling, especially now that we started to discuss Glacier coming in as a coach. When
Dude.
they've got that there for free to help get themselves better in that business and further their careers.
The only
and
thing
it's not being
worse,
taken advantage of.
the only thing worse for AEW from bringing in Glacier is if they bring in Shane McMahon.
Well,
Oh,
which is the next
absolutely.
bit, which is the rumor, and Tony Khan has said they would be more than happy to discuss and take in Shane O'Mac.
I believe Tony Khan's exact words were, "I respect Shane McMahon as both a businessman and a professional wrestler."
Well, he's the best in the world.
You know what? Could he come in not as a wrestler, and maybe Tony actually gets off camera, and Shane McMahon could come in as the on-screen owner of the business?
No, but that's Christopher Daniels. Sorry, I mean that's Kenny Omega. I mean,
Wait, sorry.
sorry, that's the
Young
Bucks.
Look,
Wait.
Oh no, it's Carter. No, wait. Oh,
Yeah. It's so strange to think about a McMahon working for another wrestling company.
it is, isn't it? It
Because,
is.
like, is Shane's reputation and relationship with Paul and Stephanie not that great? Is that why there's interest for him to go to AEW?
I
Is
think
that why
it's
he
more
wants
to
it?
do with his father. So, from
Yeah.
what I've read previously, and I'm sure other people listening have potentially read the same thing, is that is pretty much why Shane disappeared
Because
from
he had
WWE.
knowledge about this.
Well, I don't know if that's quite the case. I think it was more along the lines of he just didn't want to work with his father anymore for whatever reason that is. Because I don't want to sit here and say that he knew.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you
don't want to throw accusations.
I don't know what their relationship's like. I don't have a dad who runs a $1 million business, so I couldn't say that.
Billion.
Of course, he'd have to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has come out that was the reason that he left was to do with the fact that he doesn't want to work with his dad, and then he still wanted to come back and do a WrestleMania, which he did and blew out his bloody quad. But
Snoop Dogg.
yeah, I mean, in terms of the relationship of the family altogether, who knows, man? I mean, it's come out recently that Vince and Linda have been separated for donkey's years, and everybody knew, but it just wasn't spoken about.
Yeah.
So, who knows what the relationship is in that family? It's definitely not an everyday relationship. Let's
I
put
think
it that way.
with the way that we view AEW, we'd love to have that happen and have Shane be the on-screen boss character rather than have Tony involved and all these different aspects of the elite and all them involved. I think it'd be a bit more, bring a little bit more fluidity to the product.
And I think just
just see what
the
happens.
sheer name of a McMahon being there, like you said, I think would make it like
The contract
Let's
reads
be honest.
Shane McMahon.
Let's be honest. If Shane McMahon turns up at AEW sort of unannounced, and we have the "Here Comes the Money" and in he comes, like that would end up getting mass amount of views online and
for sure.
eyes on the product. So I don't see it as it being a bad thing. It just depends on then how do you, as I said, how do you use him going on? Because let's be honest, man, they've already got enough in-ring talent. They've got so many young talent in there they need to get back in the headlines because they've already got all this older talent that's there that need to start stepping aside and letting the other talent get involved. But Shane would be a brilliant sort of commissioner, owner character that I think is really what's missing because as you've already pointed out, we've got those characters, but they're also all wrestlers majority of the time.
And I think that hopefully, and what we have said before on this podcast is that Tony Khan needs to focus on the business side of AEW, doing those TV rights deals and stop playing with his wrestling toys in the ring. And if you take him away from creative, and Reese made the joke literally minutes ago that the post-match press conference is probably 2.5 hours long and Tony Khan's sitting there the entire time talking. We don't want
Why is
that
he
from
sitting
him.
there the whole time?
We don't
It's just
want him.
awkward.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Get somebody else on screen, get Tony away, put him back in the
Hmm.
office, and he can do the paychecks, he can sort out who he wants, do the signings, do the TV deals, and allow other people to run the product.
And I think like maybe like with the storyline they got going on at the moment with like the Elite versus AEW sort of angle they're doing, hopefully, like I fully expect Tony to become a more prominent on-screen character to work towards the culmination of this storyline, but hopefully after that he dials it back a little bit and just focuses on doing the business stuff, and then
Yep.
we get someone else
They definitely need to
being
get there.
the
Yep.
major focus of running AEW as the on-screen talent.
I feel like we're flogging a dead horse because we seem to talk about that.
We talk it all the
time, but it definitely it
Maybe
needs
we're
to
just
happen.
nitpicking,
It
but
needs to
like,
happen.
yeah.
No, I think a lot of people share that sentiment. It's great that it's great that he and his family are funding this and giving a place for wrestlers to work. Because, we look at it now, if AEW go under, that's a lot of wrestlers out of jobs. So,
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that.
we just want to make sure it's a product that is watchable and works. So that's it, gentlemen. That's a wrap for another episode of Down Under the Mat. Let us
feel like a
know
wrap.
at home what you thought of this week in wrestling. What you thought, let us know what you thought of Forbidden Door if you have watched it. If you've watched all 14 matches.
From the
and,
results, it looks pretty like predictable.
I'm going to go watch some of the matches.
Check it out.
They'll obviously, like most AEW pay-per-views, be very technically good wrestling matches.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I'm definitely keen to see
um,
the Swerve Osprey. I'm definitely keen to see Danielson's match.
Yeah, okay.
And
was,
the Okada and Tanahashi stuff in the six-man. I'm really interested to see how that all plays out.
I was refreshing the page trying to get like the match result update, and it took a while. I think the Zack Sabre Jr. and Orange Cassidy match is going to be a really good long match as well.
Okay, good.
Because like I refreshed it a few times and it still
to
had
go
not
check that
updated,
out.
so I think that one's going to be a good banger.
Go check that out, boys. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment on this video. Thank you so much for joining us here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Danielson, who has more to say.
I love that Ted's just still doing all of the facial reactions and things, even the
Yeah,
camera
of
stopped
course,
working.
man. Just in case it's working, I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it.
You got to media train yourself.
Yeah, bro.
that's true.
It's all part of the character, man. The best way, if you ever see voice actors, when
Yeah.
they act when they're
Of
doing
course
the
they
voice
do.
as well.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone
So,
out there looking for voice
apologies for the camera issues.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
actors, we'll figure it out. Thank you, Rowdy Reese. I've been
you,
Booker
Ted.
Ted, and I'm pretending the camera's still on. Thank you so much for joining us here, Down Under the Mat podcast. And check out our other video coming out this week for the World Series Wrestling that happened in Penrith, just gone this Sunday. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you at the next one. Sesame Teddy!
You.